Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to go over how you can get ahead of the COVID-19 virus by understanding how it rears its ugly head in your community. And to understand this, we're going to take a look at a graph. And the graph is not the most exciting thing, but I think it's going to bring home the point to you for how deceptive this virus is and how you can get ahead of it. So this graph represents the amount of positives from testing that the Chinese had each day, right? This starts essentially on January 18th, where they start to show a cluster of positives, and then it just starts to grow and take off from here, right? So this is the numbers when they were actually doing it. If you were there on January 18th and got the positives, this is how many people you would see are testing positive, okay? Now, what this graph doesn't represent is actually how many people are infected, right? We're only testing so many people. So, for example, if you're testing, 2,000 people and you're showing that 20 people have this virus, then you would think that, well, it's not a huge deal, right? Like in this case, maybe if you were in China at the time and there's only, let's say in here, 30 to 50 people, 30 to 50 people that are testing positive, well, you're going to think it's not a big deal. But this is the cool thing. What the Chinese did is they actually, after all was said and done, they actually went back and configured how many people were actually infected through confirmed testing over here during this time. So let's take a look. Let's actually just take a look at January 20th and the 21st here, right? So 20 and the 21st. So as you can see, respectively, there is about 1,300 cases where they're only measuring maybe my guess is 20 to 50, if that. And then it takes off. So if you're in a community where they've done limited testing, you are facing two problems. One is, if they're only testing a couple thousand people, you can't know on this graph where you're at. This is the reason why, is because China started to scale up its testing by a massive amount here. So because they're testing more, they're gonna naturally find more positives, right? The issue in the United States is that our testing is actually cut off to right around maybe here to there per day. So as you can see, if we're stuck down here per day, we're not even going to be able to see how many people are actually positive. So if you're in a state where they've measured under 1,500 or 2,000, you have no idea here where you're at. And it's not only likely that you're going to be somewhere here, but the actual number of infected people is going to be here, right? So we're up into the thousands, okay? Now, let me give you another tidbit of information that is even going to magnify these numbers more. It's that these are the confirmed cases. These are not the actual number of cases. The actual number of cases are higher, okay? We know they're higher. We're not sure how much they're higher, but chances are that graph might even be, if you were to magically know the amount of numbers, you'd see another graph even a little bit higher than this one, okay? Now, in the United States, we don't unfortunately have the testing available to really get at these numbers like China does or like South Korea does, okay? And the problem is that people here weren't really starting to get sick, right? But as you can see, there's so many people infected here and they're not showing any symptoms, okay? In fact, the only reason why these people are starting to show any symptoms is they went in, they got tested. I mean, if you look at when testing was first beginning, they had the first kits test available that says January 12th here, right? So you had here, probably even before this date, people were probably right around here is when people started contracting it, but they started not to show symptoms until later. So as you can see, there's a big delay in how long people will show symptoms. Okay, it might be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 14 days, right? Whether you might show symptoms. And this is another big thing. Okay, let's just say this represents March. Okay, I want you to think about replacing this January with March, and let's say this is your area, because it very well may be your area, or it might actually be over here. If you're in March, the issue is that if there's infected people here, they're not feeling it. A lot of people are not feeling sick yet. And they may not feel sick until you get to here. And the problem with entering this zone is that, let's look at how many people are actually infected. If you look at this combination of the gray with the orange, you're talking about actually a much higher rate than this. And so what we can see here is that when Wuhan City was shut down, okay, right, you can see that it takes about, what, 8, 9, 10 days before it starts to drop. So if you, let's say you knew this information, you certainly don't even want to get to you'd want to start ramping down, and you'd want to start being really careful, probably up to about here, when the few cases just initially start to show up. The problem is, in the United States, we're definitely somewhere in this zone, and that's why I want you to be particularly careful. And you can be attentive to your local stats, but they're not going to reflect the numbers. No state is definitely doing this much testing, and even South Dakota, for example, I think has under 1,500 tests that they've conducted, and they have 14 showing. The reality is they could be here, but pretty soon we're going to start to see a lot more people just suddenly get sick. So this is why you need to be as safe as possible. Practice social distancing. You essentially do want to isolate, as bad as that sounds, and really limit your contact with the amount of people that you see. Try to get younger people to do things for you without interacting with them, if they can leave groceries at your doorstep. And really be attentive to how you're feeling, and call in as soon as possible if you feel anything to your medical provider. Also, if you're a young person, you have to limit the contact that you have with the older persons, because you can see this is when people start to get really infectious. And a lot of these people, the funny thing is that there's going to be a certain amount of asymptomatic people, and they're transmitting this virus for up to 14 days. So right here, they're just transmitting. This group starts transmitting. This group starts transmitting. This group, and so once you get to here, and they start transmitting, you just get this domino effect of so many cases that could easily overwhelm the medical system. Let's avoid that as much as possible. So be safe. If you have any questions at all, please ask. I'm here to try to help. Thanks for watching.